The question of what happens after death is one of the greatest mysteries humanity has faced. For centuries, philosophers, theologians, and ordinary people have speculated about the fate of the soul once the body ceases to live. It is a subject that both fascinates and frightens, giving rise to many interpretations. In many religious traditions, the most common belief is that the souls of the righteous ascend to heaven to live an eternal and perfect existence alongside God. This view, deeply rooted in Christian culture, offers comfort to believers, especially during times of mourning, allowing them to imagine their loved ones in a place of peace. However, this simplified interpretation of the afterlife deserves to be questioned. By examining the scriptures, it becomes evident that the traditional view of heaven as a place of immediate happiness after death may not align with what the Bible truly teaches. Indeed, Jesus himself stated in the Gospel of John 3:13, "No one has ascended to heaven except the one who descended from heaven, the Son of Man." These words cast doubt on the common conception of the afterlife. If Jesus speaks this way, it is because he wants us to reconsider our understanding of life after death. In this video, we will explore what the Bible truly teaches about the fate of souls after death. You will discover that there is a much more complex and nuanced dimension to the destiny of the deceased, often overlooked or misunderstood. But before we proceed, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to avoid missing our upcoming exciting videos. The popular idea of heaven, a place of eternal peace where the blessed are welcomed after death, is deeply ingrained in the collective imagination. For many, heaven is that celestial place where the souls of the righteous are greeted by angels, where suffering no longer exists, and where a sweet divine melody echoes in the background. This concept is widely supported by religious traditions, literature, and even music. Phrases like, "He's in a better place," or "She watches over us from heaven," are often used to comfort those in mourning. But this vision of heaven, as reassuring as it may be, is not necessarily what the Bible teaches us. Far from offering us a description of a peaceful, immediate place for souls after death, the scriptures suggest another reality, one that is less immediate and much more aligned with the expectation of the final judgment. Here we will delve into the scriptures to better understand what happens to the soul after death and how we should approach the question of heaven and judgment. The Bible and life after death. A more complex vision. In the Old Testament, we discover a view of the afterlife very different from what many might imagine. From the story of Genesis, we understand that human beings have two components, a body made of dust and a breath of life, the spirit. The body returns to the earth from which it came, but the spirit returns to God, as Ecclesiastes 12:7 says, "The dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it." But this separation of body and spirit does not mean that the soul immediately ascends to heaven to live eternally with God. In fact, the Bible invites us to re-examine the popular idea that, after death, the righteous instantly go to heaven. The book of James 2:26 reminds us that the body without the spirit is dead, emphasizing that the separation of soul and body does not yet mean the fulfillment of the soul's eternal destiny. It is only at a specific time, on the last day, that the final judgment will take place. Sheol and Hades, a place of transition. To better understand what happens after death, it is crucial to know the concept of Sheol in the Old Testament, or Hades in the New Testament. These terms refer to a place where souls wait for the final judgment. Unlike the idea of immediate heaven, the scriptures speak of a place where the dead await, with no immediate distinction between the good and the bad. In the Old Testament, Sheol is described as a realm of the dead, a dark and inactive place where spirits rest in a sort of spiritual sleep. The book of Ecclesiastes 9:10 states, "There is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave, whither thou goest." This vision suggests that death does not immediately lead to heaven or hell, but rather to a passive waiting with no active consciousness until the final judgment. In the New Testament, the term Hades is used similarly to describe the realm of the dead. Jesus, in the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, Luke 16:19-31, gives us a fascinating glimpse of this place. After their death, Lazarus, the poor man, is carried by angels to Abraham's bosom, while the rich man finds himself in a place of torment. Although their fates differ, both are in the same realm of the dead in Hades, where they wait for judgment. This passage illustrates that souls are not immediately sent to heaven or hell, but wait in a transitional state until the day of judgment, the final judgment, the ultimate resurrection. Another fundamental idea in the Bible is that of the final judgment. According to the scriptures, all the dead, both the righteous and the unrighteous, will be resurrected on the last day to be judged. The Gospel of John 6:40 reveals, "For my Father's will is that everyone who looks to the Son and believes in him shall have eternal life, and I will raise them up at the last day." It is therefore clear that the souls of the righteous do not immediately go to heaven, but wait for this resurrection, when God will judge all human beings. In Revelation 20:12-13, the Apostle John describes this dramatic scene where all the dead, small and great, stand before the throne of God to be judged. It is at this precise moment that those who have done good will receive their eternal reward in heaven, and those who have sinned will be condemned to eternal damnation. This final judgment, far from being a simple act of reanimation, will mark a complete transformation, a moment when the body will be changed to enter eternal life or eternal separation. In conclusion, the Bible presents us with a vision of life after death that is much more complex and nuanced than what is often portrayed in popular culture. After death, it is not an instant journey to heaven or hell, but a period of waiting in a spiritual realm where souls await the final judgment. It is at this precise moment, on the last day, that God will decide the eternal fate of each soul, whether it is destined for eternal life with Him or eternal separation. This enriched understanding of the afterlife invites us to rethink our beliefs, but also to live each day with a deeper awareness of our spiritual destiny. Instead of seeking immediate and simple answers, we must recognize that life after death is a complex question, whose ultimate answer lies in the resurrection and divine judgment.